to question everything. It doesn't need to be everything, but sometimes life can show us some situations and some assumptions that we may take as right, but they may not be. It's easy to just accept whatever. But to really question things, this is in a way kinda annoying for other people and, to be honest, to yourself. But it is the way one is. It is the way I am, so not much to do about it, right? But maybe you are like me, maybe you have some similarity. I don't know. It is time to say, what is the question? Sometimes we may take some situations in life and think that they are set in stone, that they are correct no matter what. And in a way, those situations are good, because we don't have to think about every single thing in the world. But sometimes things that we might consider right, like super right, they may not be as sure as we. So imagine. I will give you an example that happened with me today. And the idea is not the example itself, but I'm trying to prove my point that in some cases those things may happen. So a few days ago, I started to research and I eventually found something called intermittent fasting, which is basically the more time you spend without eating. And so people usually suggest that you don't take breakfast. And some people even comes to the point of eating one single meal a day. And then the first thought might be, those people are really skinny, but they are not. They are not fat, but sometimes they are really muscular. So I did some research. I will not discuss the topic in details here. If you want to, you can search for yourself. But I did some research and I decided to try. So today is my third day of fasting. And some people suggest that you should go to the gym in the morning, with the previous meal being your dinner. And I was trying to see if it would work or not. My thought would be that I would be really weak in the gym. And I even imagined that I could, feel dazed or have some headache or something. But for the sake of the experience itself, and for me trying things by myself, I decided to do. So I went to the gym, and my first exercise was bench press. And I thought, I might be really weak, so let's put less weight. So I diminished some of my weight, lay down on the bench, and as I raised the bar, it was super, super light. And I thought, how? Because I didn't lower the weight too much, and it felt really light. So I did my first, and on my second, I decided to raise even more from what I used to do. And it was light. I was stronger than I used to be when I take breakfast, which makes no sense initially, right? Because there is a scientific explanation. But the initial thought might be, I didn't take breakfast, thus I am weak. And it was not the case. So I did my whole series, raising all the weights. I was way stronger than I used to be on the gym. As I said, this example is not by the sake of the example itself. This channel will not be about muscle gains or anything like that. The point is, those situations when we think something is for sure what it is, But when we think again, it might not be the case. The scientific explanation for this is supposedly when we were cavemen and women, we didn't have things to eat every single time. So probably the caveman would wake up, he wouldn't have breakfast, he would need to hunt to get it. So his body was used to not have food. But we needed to be strong and have a muscular explosion if we needed to hunt, for example. So our bodies are adapted to do such things. And it works. It worked for me. I was quite shocked when it happened. And it's funny because usually people say breakfast is the most important meal you will have in your entire day. I'm not trying to convince you to not take breakfast. It's not the point of this video. But to question that maybe things that we are so certain about, maybe we can question those things and come to a different conclusion. The example of fasting. There are a lot of people saying that fasting is good, and some people saying that fasting is not so good. There's not a lot of people actually saying, but some. I decided to try for myself. I took none as granted and decided just to see what happens. Maybe I would lose some weight, lose some muscles, which would be bad. But it seems it's not like the case. Another thing that comes to my mind, I don't know if it translates in English, but in Portuguese we have this phrase, this catchphrase, I would say, two heads think better than one. Maybe, but not in every case. Let's say you have to do some work, and so you're going to do with another person. And this person is a pain to work, and for whatever reason, you two cannot get along. Maybe the work would be executed better if you were alone. So, you see, of course, sometimes two people can add strengths and make something bigger than a single one. It doesn't apply in every single case. Every single situation is specific. I guess the funny thing for me in this case is that I usually question things, even the basic ones. But I never questioned how important breakfast is. So I think it's a lesson to be learned, and to question things beyond what people say to us. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you didn't subscribe, please subscribe. Tell me if any similar situation ever happened to you. It doesn't need to be about breakfast. And write in the comments below. See you next time.